Like essentially everyone else in the world, unless you are living under a rock like SpongeBob's Patrick Star, I am always a sucker for a good story. There are times when I am either reading, watching a movie or TV series, playing a video game, or what have you, and I am just so engrossed in the plot and characters. I cannot put it down because everything works together so well. However, there are times where I question the choices of storytellers, and frankly, get annoyed by them. There are certain elements of storytelling that you have to get absolutely right to be successful. If you miss the mark on them, your work just shatters like glass. In this video, I am going to discuss the 5 storytelling elements that are vital to having a compelling story, at least in my opinion. Number 5, a sense of dramatic tension. This one should be a no-brainer, right? You must keep your audience in suspense, whether that is using a plot twist, character revelation, character death, etc. Without that sense of tension, the work becomes as bland and stale as that bag of chips you left in the pantry for a few months. Come on, we all have them, don't deny it. It's time for you to clean out that pantry. You need to keep your characters in some sort of situation that keeps pushing them forward. It makes the plot more interesting, and you're always wanting to know what happens next, and in many cases, it furthers the character's development. Imagine 2 versions of the same scene in which the hero is fighting a dragon to save a princess. In one scenario, the hero easily defeats the dragon unscathed and saves the princess without any problems at all. Doesn't that sound boring and unrealistic? Would you come out unscathed and easily defeat a monster that can breathe fire, that is hotter than the sun, weighs so much more than you, and is very much larger? You are an ant compared to this ginormous beast. There is no way you could easily defeat such a thing. Now, with that out of the way, let's imagine a slightly altered version of the same scenario, shall we? The hero would be fighting not only for the life of the princess, but for his own as well. He would probably not be coming out unscathed like in the earlier scenario. He would have a few cuts, bruises, broken armor pieces, and possibly a lost limb or two. Kind of like Beowulf in some versions. He may also sacrifice himself for the sake of his mission. This would add to the dramatic tension because it makes one think, how is the princess going to be rescued if the hero perishes? How will she be saved from the dragon's clutches? This scenario has a sense of tension, the stakes are high, which compels the reader/viewer to press onward to see if the hero is successful in his mission. When people see or read a suspenseful situation, it compels them to figure out what will happen next and to see if the protagonist will prevail. If there are no stakes and there is little dramatic tension in the plot, the person will get bored and drop the story like a ton of bricks. We cannot root for the characters effectively if we knew they were going to be successful. This is kind of why I don't like prequels and midquels. But I digress. Not only that, we don't always win our struggles, so why should they? Speaking of characters, this brings us to number 4, dynamic, relatable characters. While a plot full of twists and turns is important, a writer must always remember that the characters are the heart and soul of the story. They keep the plot moving forward, they are the guides of the world, and in some instances, we can relate to them on a personal level. If a character is relatable and multifaceted, it allows us to connect with them, root for them, and watch their growth. They should not be one-dimensional, perfect, and unrelatable, because this is boring and unrealistic. You may want to take a few notes, Hallmark, because this is also directed towards you and your movies. Or should I say just one movie, since they're all basically the same. Characters need to develop throughout the story. They need to face struggles and fall to get themselves back up. Gee, it sounds realistic and relatable, doesn't it? Everybody needs to start off somewhere, and at some point, they face some sort of struggle which helps them grow. Life is full of highs and lows. Not always highs, not always lows. Even the big successes of the world, such as Bill Gates, Walt Disney, and Steve Jobs, have faced failure at one point or another in their lives. Additionally, their personalities must be fleshed out. We have to see both sides of them that are both good and bad, because that is how people truly are. Nobody is purely good, and nobody is purely bad. We have our likes, our dislikes, and our goals we wish to achieve. Like mine is to someday do YouTube videos full time. Hashtag shameless goal plug. Sorry, Hallmark and Lifetime, I am going to criticize your movies again and again, probably throughout this whole video. I doubt we are all major CEOs of major corporations, with everything handed to us on a silver platter and a supermodel for a significant other. Kids, that's what we call a Mary Sue or a Gary Stew. This is why a lot of self insert fanfictions do not work, because the main character has it all. Just one side to their personality, always rich beyond belief, and face no struggles whatsoever. As a result, that bland character brings down the dramatic tension really significantly, because we know they're going to be successful in their goals without any problem. What makes that compelling? Where's the suspense? Where's the development? Even supposedly overpowered characters like Superman, Batman, Izuku Midoriya, and Captain America have their own dynamic, fleshed out personalities. They aren't always punch, punch, kick, kick. Their struggles and desires to succeed despite them adds relatability and makes them even more compelling characters. It not only goes for the heroes, but the villains as well. An antagonist with their own goals and agenda aside from simply taking over the world is so much more compelling. In addition to their personalities, characters must also have number 3, clear motivations. A character's motivations are about as essential as their personality. It adds another layer to him and allows us to get some insight as to who we will be following. We all know Batman wants to fight crime in Gotham City because he doesn't want another person to experience the same trauma he did when he was a child. Naruto wants to become Hokage to be recognized by his peers, since he faced a childhood of being ostracized by his village. Aladdin wants a better life for himself to escape from thievery and stealing to survive, and in the case of the stage musical, making his late mother proud. These are all brilliant motivations that allow us to learn more about these characters. However, there are poor motivations sometimes that offer nothing to us. A character wanting money is great, but why do they desire such? Are they trying to support someone? Are they saving up toward the larger goal? Or is it simply to buy an ice cream soda from the local diner? Like in that Porky Pig short. This is why I always applaud Kohei Horikoshi's My Hero Academia. He creates characters that have absolutely amazing motivations. Todoroki wants to step out of his father's shadow. Uraraka wants to support her impoverished family. And protagonist Midoriya wants to be a hero so he would have nobody worry about him. This allows us to project ourselves onto these characters, root for them throughout their struggles, and even relate to them. Even minor characters like Mineta, who wants to be popular with the ladies, can be a relatable character with his motivation. However, there are some characters with unclear motivations, such as my least favorite character in the series, Katsuki Bakugo. As of the manga and anime's current point, it is uncertain as to why he wants to be a hero or what motivates him to get stronger as the series progresses. Matter of fact, there are many details on Bakugo that are mysterious, but I'm sure further developments are on the way. Overall, My Hero Academia has brilliant examples of character motivation and development, and I will continue to praise it for that reason. Not only that, it has number 2, tonal consistency. I'm sure this one is fairly obvious. Keep your story at a consistent tone. Have you ever watched a movie, played a video game, or read a book, and the overall tone was bouncing around more than a game of pinball? It gets pretty distracting and makes the story hard to follow, doesn't it? I admit, stories do need moments of highs and lows in their narrative arc, but if it constantly bounces back between comedic and serious, then the whole work just becomes a confusing mess. This is the exact problem I had with the 2017 film Justice League. Due to Zack Snyder leaving the project and Joss Whedon stepping forward, most of the story was reshot for a much lighter tone. However, as a result, much of Zack Snyder's darker, more serious footage was retained, and consequently, the tone would shift back and forth due to the conflicting visions of both directors. This made the film an absolute chore to watch and caused me to lose interest rather quickly. Had Snyder or Whedon been able to convey their full vision, then the work would have been more enjoyable. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. The film we got, unfortunately, was a jumbled up, unwatchable mess that really did not know what it wanted to be. However, I digress from that. In addition, you must match the tone with the character. For this example, I'll refer to the modern version of Batman once again. The current incarnation of Batman is supposed to be one that is dark, gritty, and serious. Therefore, a similar tone works best with him. If you were to take the darker tone out of the equation, then it would create a massive disconnect because the character does not fit as well in a more lighthearted story. Unless it's the Adam West incarnation of the character, but to be fair, he always felt more like a satire of Batman than anything to take seriously. However, there are times where the contrast between the tone and character work effectively, such as the anime The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. Matter of fact, the tonal contrast is played for laughs. Psyche Kusuo is much more serious and down to earth character, yet he is always pulled into these hilarious and outlandish situations. It almost feels like a satire of the slice of life genre as a result. However, combined with a consistent tone, I got to tell you the most important element of storytelling is number one, pacing. This could be the element that either makes or breaks it. If a story is going too fast and bouncing around, it becomes difficult to digest what is going on. On the inverse, if a story has extremely slow pacing, it becomes hard to get into and can easily cause one to lose interest. This is why I cannot get into anime such as One Piece and the original cut of Dragon Ball Z, because they move at a pace that makes a snail look fast. At the time of this video, the former clocks in at around 917 episodes in the anime and nearing 1,000 chapters in the manga. The Simpsons, as much as I love the series, is notorious for this problem as well by clocking it at 31 seasons so far and still ongoing with no end in sight. As a result, the beloved series has taken a massive nosedive in quality, becoming a withered husk of what it once was. I can understand not wanting a story to end. I have been there on numerous occasions. But there comes a time when things need to reach their natural conclusion. Overstaying your welcome does more harm than good, and if you're an ongoing series lasting more than 200 or so episodes, then maybe it is about time to consider bringing it to a halt. As much as I love The Big Bang Theory, Full House, Boy Meets World, etc., I am glad they ended where they did with an organically placed conclusion. Going any longer than they did would have sucked the life out of them and would have caused viewership to severely tank. Eiichiro Oda, I think it is about time you thought about bringing the Straw Hat's adventures to an end instead of artificially lengthening it more and more. The more you extend their globe-trotting adventure, the harder it is to get into. I tried to watch your series 3 times, but due to how long and dragged out it is, I gave up right before the Arlong arc. I can imagine a lot of your new fans have experienced similar results as well. While TV series are prone to falling in this trap, there are also some films that are simply too long for consumption. One of the most notorious examples I've seen recently is Avengers Endgame. Don't get me wrong, I loved this movie and was hooked for every second of it, but there were times where I was like, come on, let's wrap this up already. Honestly, did not need to be over 3 hours long, and there were many scenes that could have been cut or reduced to streamline the pacing. I can understand the need to complete some storylines to finish what Infinity War started. However, there was still quite a bit of fat that needed to be trimmed from that steak, such as during the time travel sequences. On the other side of the coin, I feel like films such as Star Wars Rogue One and Justice League could have used some more runtime to further develop the characters and plot. Due to its troubled production, Justice League had a lot of beneficial content cut that would have fleshed things out and slowed down the pacing just a bit. The film kept bouncing around between certain points, which made it difficult to digest what was going on. As a result, it glosses over characters such as Cyborg and Flash, who severely needed time to develop and allow the viewers to learn about them. While I was watching, I was waiting so hard to learn more of their origins and how they received their abilities. However, I later came to learn that was left on the cutting room floor in the infamous Snyder Cut, along with every other scene that would have fleshed this movie out and made it a lot better. Rogue One faced a similar yet different problem. The relevant scenes were there, but the pacing was severely rushed until the conclusion. The viewer has zero time to learn about the characters, their mission, their motivation, and so on, because it is constantly jumping around like Sonic the Hedgehog on a sugar high. Overall, I guess the word I'm looking for here is balance. You have to keep these elements balanced if you want to convey an effective story. You have to keep everything consistent. Your characters and growth have to be well rounded, and you have to give the viewer/reader time to digest what is going on. If these elements fall out of balance, then the work will fall apart and your audience will lose interest almost immediately. The key here is to keep them hooked until the very end and keep them coming back to see what happens next. Put yourself in their shoes when you are writing and keep these elements in mind, as they will really enhance your storytelling. Don't always have your characters willing, make them struggle occasionally. Keep your audience in suspense, and don't be afraid to shake things up a bit. You can have funny and serious moments, but make sure the overall tone is consistent. Above all else, make sure the pacing is consistent as well, so they don't get bored. Now, I have a question for you. What are some storytelling elements that you think are vital? Feel free to discuss in the comments below, and also be sure to like and subscribe for future updates, and let me know what you'd like to see from me in the future. I love getting feedback because it helps me improve my work little by little, and it always puts me one step closer in my goals. See you later.